what is this sorcery? I don't understand how it works. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Carmel, and in today's video I have some new makeup to share with you. And being completely honest, I wasn't even planning on picking most of this up. No, I was influenced by my friends, random people on the internet, subscribers and viewers. So I've been testing this stuff out, and today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on whether they actually live up to the hype. So if that sounds like something that you might be interested in, then please do keep on watching. Guess what? It's a gajillion degrees here in Ireland again. No air conditioning. No, we don't do that here. Even though we get the hottest of summers, we're still not giving in and getting air conditioning. So yeah, I might melt in front of your eyes today. We'll see. The first product that I was highly influenced by, I was so adamant that I was not going to get this. I was so adamant, and I felt so proud of myself. I wasn't even tempted until I saw it online and I saw people using it. The Natasha Denona tan palette. I don't know why I try and kid myself that I'm not going to get her palettes. Look at this. She's so much more beautiful in real life than she is on a screen. I can't even tell you. Actually, I was chatting to my friends Clara and Jen. I think Clara had messaged and said, oh, are you going to get the Natasha Denona tan palette? And I was like, no way. I'm not getting it. I don't need it. This is not my kind of jam. Yeah, I'm eating those words right now. My beautiful friend Rhoda Paint the Face, she has amazing swatch and comparison videos on this. Also, my beautiful viewer and friend Tinker, she came to me and said, it's the best palette I've ever tried in my whole life. And I don't regret it, okay? I don't regret it at all. So let me show you some close-up swatches. So this is a palette of 14 brand new sandy brown neutrals. It features beachy tans, toasted browns, and luminous golden neutrals. It has 3 creamy mattes, 3 slip cream mattes, 6 metallics, and 3 sparkling foiled finishes to create dimensional eye looks. So this is a pricey number, €77, and that's one of the reasons why I always say I'm not going to get her palette. But I think it's safe to say that the Natasha Denona eyeshadows are my favourite formulas for eyeshadows. We're going to start over here. This is the shade Soft Spot. Going to use a Refy 27 for this. So just going in with Soft Spot. The one thing that has really stood out to me about this palette is how versatile it is. I don't really use a lot of eyeshadow palettes in my day-to-day life, but I took this away with me on I went to a wedding down the country, and this was the palette that I used. I also used this in the daytime, which I never normally would, because there are so many shades in here that make the most perfect one and done. It is genuinely neutral. You know, sometimes people claim neutral palettes and then they come out warm or they come out cool. These are beautifully neutral, and so I feel they will suit pretty much anybody that uses this. I really like this shade Sandal, which is a cream shadow. These are very cream to powder. So I'm going to take a BK Beauty N13 Nicola Rose brush, just to add a little bit of dimension, and you just would not know that this was a cream, really. I was so afraid that this palette was going to be so dark, and I don't know why I thought that, and what was wrong with me. I think I was just trying to convince myself that I didn't need this, and I didn't need this, but boy, do I love it. I'm going to bring those 2 shades actually underneath my lash line with a BK Beauty N12 brush. I'm going to go into this matte shade, which is Izzy, and it's cream. Just going to use a Morphe M303 for this, and I'm just going to bring that in the first third of my eye. Next, I'm going to go in with one of my favourite shades, which is here, which is Kissed. Kissed is described as a metallic satin medium caramel. I've been loving this as just a one and done. And I would say that it definitely leans a lot more satin than it does metallic. And obviously they all layer so beautifully together. I'm going to go into this bottom shade here, which is Glide. I'm going to use a BK Beauty 205 for this. And I'm just going to stamp this just in this area. When I'm wanting to do a proper eyeshadow look, I love using this brush because it's perfect for deep set eyes, because it just allows me to apply to the brow bone really easily. I'm going to go in back in with my Refy brush and just blend all that in. I'm going to go in with this one, which is Celeste. Celeste is described as a metal gloss, light icy beige. And I really like to apply this with my finger, and with this, kind of stamp it into the center of my eye. So just stamping it in the middle. When you stamp it in the middle, it just doesn't overtake the shade Kissed, which I used all over the lid. I'm going to go into the deepest shade here, which is Dip, with a BK Beauty N12, and that is a cream matte coffee bean brown, and I'm just going to pop that just on the lash line. Let's go in with Celeste again and bring that in the inner corner with a BK Beauty A505. So I think we'll leave it there, but I just wanted to say about this palette that you can go as dramatic or as subtle as you want to. My other number one is the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude. It's hard to choose now between the two of them. I'm shocked at how much I fell in love with this. I really think it's just insanely amazing. I do. Let's add some mascara, and I was influenced to buy this mascara from Merit. This is the Clean Volume Volumizing Tubing Mascara. I definitely prefer drugstore mascaras, so, you know, higher end mascaras, not really that interested. So how was I influenced? I stumbled across a short by Andrea Ali. Her eyelashes looked so flippin' beautiful when she put this on, and I've been so loving tubing mascaras recently. I mean, I love them. I thought, well, we'll give it a whirl and see if it really does give you nice lashes. So this retails for €29 and very, very unique. I wasn't expecting the brush that I received. Look at that teeny weeny tiny little brush. No, it's literally the teeny weeniest thing I've ever seen. I've never had a brush this small before. I've had skinny brushes, but this is small and skinny. Usually volumizing mascaras have massive brushes, which I hate. So this was music to my ears. So this is a great brush for getting in right at the base of the lash. And it really does cling on to every single teeny weeny lash that you have. Can you see? Look at this. You can see it just grabbing my eyelashes and stretching them up. Now this claims to be a Japanese made formula. Claims to be no clump, no smudge. And I can guarantee you that this is definitely no budge. It does everything a tubing mascara should do. Now, although this claims to be a volumizing mascara, I'm going to say that I don't think it's the most volumizing, to be honest, because I do find it to be a little bit on the stickier side. It's definitely giving length, but as for volume, I do find that I don't know. I'm going to say that I don't get a whole lot of volume from this mascara, just in my experience, and I've been wearing it now for about 5 days, and yeah, I've pretty much had the same result each time, and it's good, but it's not volumizing in my opinion. The one thing that this mascara is amazing for is your bottom lashes. I feel like it's designed, this brush, for the bottom lashes. So in summary, I do really like this mascara. It's a good solid tubing mascara. I've had no issues with the performance of it, so it does last all day. In my head, I'm always comparing it to my favorite tubing mascara, which is the Maybelline Sky Tubes. And if you were to ask me, would I replace my Sky Tubes with this? The answer is no. However, will this enter my rotation? Yeah, I think it probably will. It's not the most easy to remove, so I have to sit there for a while with warm water on my eye before it starts to come off. But when it starts to come off, it will remove pretty quickly. So I think it really is personal preference. If you are into clean beauty, I think this is a really good option. Yeah, it's still a good all-round tubing mascara for sure. So I did a collab recently with Rhoda over at Paint the Face, and we picked, without knowing what each other had picked, our favourites of 2026. One of hers was this, the Natasha Denona palette, but another one of her favourites was this concealer from Ilia. This is the Skin Blur Serum Concealer, and this was her #1 concealer, and I knew I had to try it because we have such similar preferences when it comes to concealers. It retails for about €35, and for that you get 6ml of product. I went for the same shade as Rhoda because we are kind of shade twins. So this is 10N Mesh. Now, I think this would be better for me more so in the winter, not when I've got a little bit of a tan. But that's the shade 10N, which is a neutral shade. So I'm just going to show you 10N alongside a couple of other concealers that I have that are quite similar. So at the top there, you've got the new Ilia in the shade 10N. Next, you have the Dior Forever Skin Correct in 1.5N. Next, we have the new Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Concealer, and that's in the shade 5 Medium. And lastly, we have the Chanel Ultra Le Ton Concealer in the shade B30. And I just think they are quite similar, and that might help you when choosing your concealer shade if you feel like getting this. We're going to use a BK Beauty A506 brush for this, and we're just going to go straight in. Now, this is definitely a serum feeling concealer. Oh, I've got it in my hair. Great. And although it's serumy, and like when I first started to use this, I didn't think it was going to give me much coverage, but it definitely does. And certainly a little goes a long way. Now, I like to apply it like this and then just let it sit for a little minute and then start to blend it out. So it's definitely a medium coverage concealer and just blends like effortlessly. You saw that. No effort at all. This claims to be a blurring concealer, which also helps to firm the skin over time. Who doesn't want that? It claims to give a natural finish, and I would agree with that. I would say it's probably a natural airing on slightly luminous finish, I would say. I think it just depends on your base products that are on underneath this, and it definitely claims to be self-setting, and I would agree with that. It is definitely a self-setting concealer. So the majority of times that I've worn this, I've been wearing it now for a week, I have only set it once, only once, and this is really, really, really nice. I can see why Rhoda adores this, because not only does it give good coverage, it's very, very flattering on your under eyes. It feels hydrating. It doesn't feel dry at all. Now, when it comes to whether this is a crease-free concealer, well, no concealer is crease-free, in my opinion. So I definitely still do get a little bit of settling into fine lines, but it's not a problematic settling. So as I always say, if there's a bit of settling, I literally just tap it out with my finger. I found that the one day that I did set this, then I didn't get as much of the settling into a few fine lines as I did on the previous days. And I also find it to be incredibly blurring under the eyes as well. I mean, you know how much I usually have to cover. So yeah, I completely agree with Rhoda on how amazing this concealer is. And also this is non-comedogenic and it is suitable for sensitive skin. I was looking at the ingredients. It contains a retinol alternative, which is sea fennel extract, which it claims to brighten and smooth the skin. And it has caffeine, which visibly reduces under eye puffiness. Yeah, it's vegan, it's cruelty free, and it contains matrixyl 3000 peptides, which reduces the look of fine lines and wrinkles. I have really enjoyed this. This is definitely a solid everyday concealer. I really like this, so thank you, Rhoda. Thank you for finding me another beautiful concealer. I really rate this. This next product, I absolutely had zero intention of purchasing at all. This from Makeup Forever. This is the HD Balancing and Perfecting Foundation. Love the bottle, by the way. I love that. That is so cute, isn't it? I saw it on somebody over on Instagram and it looked really matte on their skin. So I thought, well, if there's one thing I don't want, it's matte, because I don't like matte foundations. But what influenced me was posts on Reddit. Yeah, posts on Reddit saying that this was the best foundation they've ever tried in their whole lives, and they had dry skin. So I thought, well, there's only so much resisting I can do. Let's give it a little whirl. So this retails for €45, which is fairly expensive for a foundation. For that, you get the standard 30ml of product. So I picked up the shade 214N, and that is for light to medium skin with a neutral undertone. I will say that with my tan at the moment, it is a little bit light. The other Makeup Forever foundation that I have, this is the HD Skin Hydra Glow. We've got 214N, and then the bottom in the other foundation, 1N14. A lot lighter, you would think, but it doesn't really look like that, does it? So the third swatch is the Makeup by Mario Natural Finish Foundation in 8N. And then at the bottom, you've got the Natasha Denona High Glam Foundation in the shade N6. So there's just a couple of comparisons for you if you are choosing. I really do think that the Makeup Forever is light. It is light. And I'm going to say another thing about Makeup Forever foundations. I feel like they run really quite yellow, in my opinion. I know people always accuse the drugstore of leaning yellow like L'Oreal, and I don't disagree with that. However, Makeup Forever, I find, are a little bit notorious for that as well, in my opinion. There's the formula on my hand on its own, and you can see it's a really lovely runny formula. I have really had to play around with brushes when it comes to applying this foundation because some brushes just didn't work well with this foundation for some reason. So I've settled on the BK Beauty 101 foundation brush, and I'm just going to tap into the product. This foundation claims to give 24 hours of hydration and shine control for all skin types. So you can see there that I'm kind of pressing it into the skin. I don't find this the easiest foundation to apply. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think it's as effortless as some foundations over my pore area. I find that I have to work quite hard to smooth it out. Yeah, and the other thing that I want to say to you is it has a really strong fragrance, really strong. It reminds me of the fragrance of Clarins foundation, so really quite strong, hard to ignore, I'm going to say. It is a water-based foundation. It claims to leave you with a perfect natural finish. It is definitely a buildable formula. And do you know what? I've been on a bit of a journey with this foundation. I'm going to be honest with you. It started off a little bit worrying because the first time that I wore this, I hated it. I didn't like how it looked on my skin, but I'm going to explain to you why I think that is. So that's just one side, one light layer. I've not even used all of that little pump. And that's the other side with nothing on. And I think you might agree that that is very, very natural. And you know what? The colour does work. I would say that I probably need a pump and a half for my whole face. Yeah, but again, if you want to build up the coverage, you can. I would say this is a good, solid medium. But I think you could probably build it to full, maybe. So this has a unique complex in here, and it's something that kind of dawned on me in my wear tests. So this is infused with a skin balancing complex featuring hyaluronic acid and peptides that hydrates and smooths the skin. And apparently, this is something I found out after having to go and research this product again because I was so confused by it. It is supposed to automatically balance your skin based on your skin type, right? It claims to adapt to your skin's needs. And I'm going to tell you that's not far off the mark. So that's how the full face is looking now. I'm going to tell you that I've had the strangest experience. So first time I used this, I hated how it looked. And every time I tried to blend it out, it felt like it was sitting on top of my skin and really emphasizing my pore area. And I was getting really annoyed by it. I thought that it was lacking a bit of life. I thought that my skin looked a bit lifeless. And so finished off my makeup and left it at that. Came back about an hour later and I looked in the mirror and it looked like I had a completely different foundation on. It was like it had adapted to my skin. Now remember, my skin is dry. It was like it had sunk into my skin and adapted to my skin. And I just thought to myself, gosh, I must be sweaty today. Thought that my oils had softened the foundation and my skin looked so pretty and so luminous. Kept wearing it, and had the same experience every time. And in my head, I was thinking, is this adapting to my skin? And then I went back and researched the foundation and realized that it has this skin balancing complex in there that is designed to adapt to your skin. I thought that it was the worst mistake I'd ever made, and it turns out it's one of the best foundations I've ever put on my face. Do you have oily skin, and have you tried this foundation? Because I need to know what it looks like on you. Now, there's a couple of things I'm going to say that I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't think it's particularly blurring around my pores. And also, you need to be aware of the fragrance in here. And it also contains niacinamide in here as well. And it does also contain alcohol in here as well. But at the same time, lots of very hydrating ingredients. And not only does this have amazing coverage, but it also lasts beautifully. So I've worn this for full 12, 14, even 16-hour days. So absolute great longevity with it. This has been a great success. So I'm very, very impressed with it. So bronzer, guess what? Rhoda, she influenced me again, but not just Rhoda. With this bronzer, one of my lovely viewers and friends, Laurie, she also influenced me to get this because she was raving about it to me. And it's this bronzer from Refy. This is the water bronzer. So the bronzer has this lovely lid and it has this little cap, and you need to make sure that you close that cap in order to keep everything fresh and good. So it retails for €26, but for that you get 12 grams of product, which is pretty hefty and music to my ears, my friends. So I picked up the shade Bay. So this is the shade Bay, which is the second to lightest shade, and it's light to medium golden bronze. So here's a couple of comparisons. So at the top you've got the Refy in the shade Bay. Second one down is the Makeup by Mario in the shade Light Medium. And the third one down is the Fenty Beauty Sunstalker Souffle Cream Bronzer, which is my current new favourite. And that is in the shade Churro Twist. It looked quite warm, Bay, but when it's applied, it just, because it melts so effortlessly into the skin, it really doesn't look too warm at all. I'm going to use a BK Beauty A507 for this, and I'm just going to dip right into this. So this does claim to be a dewy bronzer, and it is a water-based bronzer. And it's like nothing I've tried before in my whole life. So the best way to describe this is, I would say that this is a liquid bronzer in a cushion format. That's how I would describe this. And do you know what? It's stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. So I don't know what I was expecting with this, whether I was expecting it to be really watery. And look, it feels cool when you apply it, like when you apply a cushion foundation. I always want to try liquid bronzers, and I have a few liquid bronzers, but they're just too much faff for me. I don't want to be squeezing out product, especially bronzers, and then applying them that way. So, you know, like the Victoria Beckham liquid bronzer, didn't buy that. The Natasha Denona liquid bronzer, didn't buy that. It's because I don't like the applicator. I don't want to pump out a bronzer. So this is like a liquid bronzer in a cushion format. It's so nice. It claims to be buildable, and wow, it absolutely is. As you can see, I'm applying it, and although it's giving me quite a dewy finish, it definitely sinks into the skin, and yeah, it's just phenomenally pretty. And I honestly didn't think this would last on my skin, but this has been my go-to on one of my trips when I was in the county of Mayo in Ireland, and it's fairly windy down there. Yeah, so we were out and about, and this bronzer didn't move, it didn't shift. Now obviously it did fade towards the end of the day, which is to be expected with any kind of liquid product, but this just feels absolutely beautifully hydrating. It looks so pretty and natural on the skin. It's not overly dewy. I couldn't love this anymore, so thank you for the influencing. I am so impressed with this bronzer. I think it's a kind of a less emollient version of the Makeup by Mario. So if you found the Makeup by Mario really oily, you're going to love this. You're going to really prefer this. I really think that this bronzer looks like a second skin. So although it's has like kind of a dewy type finish, it's not overly dewy. I would actually say it kind of leans more natural, really. I think this is completely foolproof. So no matter what your skill level with makeup, you will be able to make this work because there is no messing it up. Love it. Oh my gosh. And I actually think for the price, this is a bit of a steal. I do. I really do. So at the same time, I decided to purchase the blush that went along with this bronzer. Now, this has definitely been the product that has been raved about less. So the bronzer is definitely the star of the show, but I thought I'd give it a whirl anyway, and I've been so pleasantly surprised by this. In my opinion, it's not super expensive. It's 22 euros, and for that, you get 7 grams of product. The blush has the exact same packaging as the bronzer, so make sure that you are closing that little compartment when you are finished using it. Now, there's only 3 shades to choose from, which is quite limited, so I didn't really know what to go for. So there is an apricot and there's also an acai, which is a deep berry. So I went for, obviously this is the most predictable shade for me, lychee, and I think this is really beautiful. Now, it claims to be a bright pink with warm undertones. Yeah, I don't know. You tell me how you think this appears on my skin. So I'm using a BK Beauty 109 and I'd literally just press into this and this feels really beautiful when you apply it. I wouldn't say that this comes out super pink on me. I think it all depends on the foundation that you've got on, to be honest with you. I feel like it's more of a beautiful suntanned shade on me. I think it looks like I've caught the sun. And I love it. It literally sinks straight into the skin. It is beautiful to apply. Absolutely effortless. Again, you could apply a lot of this and I don't think it would get crazy at all. Honestly, I didn't expect to get quite as much longevity out of these two as I have, but these last, they last and last. If you have skin on the drier side, if you have combo skin, these are made for you. But even if you had oilier skin, I really don't think this is a product that would slip and slide off your face at all. How pretty. It's just so gorgeous. And my dry skin just loves these products so much and I couldn't recommend this anymore. Genuinely, it's a stunner. The next thing we're going to look at are these ABH Kiss Theory lip balms. I think these retail for about 18 euros. I was influenced by myself. Yeah, I saw these on Trend Mood before they were released and I knew I was having them. I knew I was. But I love a hydrated lip. I don't like sticky glossy, but I like to have shiny looking lips and I like to have coverage, so pigment there, and I want it to last as well. Is that too much to ask? I don't know. I have to have a little moan about these. Well, can you see how tiny they are? They are tiny. I was not expecting them to be as slim as what they are. I knew they were going to be slim and I was excited to see the packaging, but these are teeny. These are like teeny tiny, could lose them. Yeah, they're tiny. They are the tiniest things I've ever seen. But also the tiniest amount of product as well. I didn't even think about checking how many grams of product you get in these before I purchased them. 1 gram. 1 gram. That is the least amount of product I've ever had in a lip product. I wondered why they were 18 euros. I thought that was a little bit on the inexpensive side for the brand. I mean, an average lip product would be around 3 grams. Yeah, not happy. Not happy about that, but let's move past that and look at the shades that I got. So at the top, we have Charm, which is a mid-tone rosy mauve. At the bottom, we have Daydream, which is soft rosy nude. I don't know if you can see there. Usually, like glossy products like this, balms, are quite hard to swatch. These are incredibly pigmented. I was shocked, like really shocked at the amount of pigment that is in these products. They are very substantial, thick formulas, and I wasn't expecting it. So let me show you both of these. So we'll start off with Charm. Despite the lack of product and the fact that I'm going to use this up in probably about 3 weeks, they are perfect for the lips. Yeah, perfect size for application. This claims to be a hybrid formula which combines balm-like comfort and high impact colour and glossy shine. And so that is Charm, and you can see the coverage, the opacity of these, and they are non-sticky, and I mean completely non-sticky. They feel absolutely stunning. Like they are like nothing I've ever tried before. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting them to feel so beautiful, to look so beautiful, to have the opacity that they do. So that was all a nice surprise. I mean, the 1 gram, that was a bad surprise, but the rest of it has been a nice surprise. Right, let me apply Daydream for you. Daydream is absolutely beautiful. It definitely looks better with a lip liner. Now, the one thing I'm going to tell you about these, don't leave them in a warm place because they are very, very balmy. And so they will melt. If you leave them somewhere hot, they will start to melt and then you are going to lose product. I don't really want to wear a lip liner today, so I'm gonna throw on Charm again and I'll tell you whether I actually think these are worth it. So are these worth it? Well, I guess the question I need to ask myself is, would I repurchase these? And despite the minimal amount of product, I probably would, because I've never really tried a lip balm like this. Usually with a lip oil balm, you get a beautiful amount of shine, but you don't get this much opacity with them. So I've been really blown away by these. These are like a true lipstick, but like a true balm as well, and a true gloss. So, and also for a lip balm lipstick, these last incredibly well. I actually wore one of these to a wedding last week and I barely had to top up my lips, which is pretty crazy. Obviously, after eating and drinking, you do have to top up, but these are incredibly long lasting. They really are. And you also don't even need to use a lip liner with these either, because they, look at that. That is without a lip liner. These are really nice. Obviously, I'm conflicted by the lack of product, which is so unacceptable, but I can't deny that these are pretty phenomenal and they smell delicious as well. Kind of vanilla-y maybe. Why do all lipsticks smell of vanilla? I can't deny that they are absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I wish I didn't love them. So lastly is a product that I did feature in a heat-proof makeup routine. This is the new Unreal Highlighter Stick from Charlotte Tilbury, who influenced me to buy this. It was Dublin Airport. Yeah, it was. I saw them in Dublin Airport while I was having a little mooch and I thought, well, I may as well just give it a whirl. So this is actually a cream highlighter stick that comes in one universal shade. And that's how it looks. And you can see it is very, very wet looking. But the shade is Glazed Goddess, but there's only one shade available. I'm not sure whether she will expand the range, but this is €42, but for that you get 8.5 grams of product, which is pretty massive. I don't know how you'd ever go through all that. I'm going to apply it with a Real Techniques concealer brush, and I'm just going to pat over here. Now I don't need any more dewiness on the cheeks, but I've enjoyed this. I do like it. I like that out of the highlighter sticks that I've used recently, this is probably the one that melts more into the skin. It kind of gives impact, but will still remain looking kind of natural, if a highlighter stick can remain natural. And I've actually really enjoyed using this kind of on the shoulders and places like that. So let's just pop a bit over here, just for a little bit of extra, you know, glow if you've got kind of strapless top on or whatever. And that's where the amount of product comes in handy. I don't find it glittery, and do you know, I actually think that this lasts really nicely as well. And sometimes highlighters can disappear, cream highlighters, but this one, it feels hydrating, it's lovely, it's easy to use. You see how it just gives a little bit of shine, and I like it. I really, really do. Now, I am looking quite glowy now, but I want to draw your attention back to the foundation. Now, it is hot in here, but it's not unbearable as yet. But I definitely feel as though the foundation just becomes more luminous and hydrating on my skin. And what I have been doing when I've been using all of the glowier products together, I've just been going in with a little bit of pressed powder, just taking a fluffy Real Techniques powder brush and just toning down the shine here in the center of my face. Now, I don't feel like I need to ordinarily powder the foundation, but that just takes down any unnecessary shine that we don't want. And that's how it's all looking. Yeah, I've had such a great experience with these products, I'm not joking. But just to wrap up on the Charlotte Tilbury highlighter, I think it's a really nice body highlighter because it doesn't remain sticky or tacky. And yeah, I actually really enjoy using it as, yeah, a kind of multifunctional product. But do you need it? No, you definitely don't, especially if you have other cream highlighters. But I have really enjoyed using it, I can't deny that. So that is the roundup of all of the products that I was influenced to buy. And I have to say, on this occasion, I don't regret a single thing. I'm absolutely delighted with every single one of these makeup products. I think my standout items would probably be the Refy blush and bronzer. They are long lasting. They are so beautiful on the skin. They just make your skin look so natural and healthy. And also this foundation. What is this sorcery? I don't understand how it works. I love it. I love how it adapts to my dry skin. I would love to hear from you if you have oilier skin. Does it adapt to your skin? Does it become more matte? Whereas it becomes more luminous on me? This could be one of the best foundations ever created. It could be. Or maybe there's something wrong with my brain and I'm just imagining it. Let me know what you think. I absolutely love the concealer. As you can see, I've not set it. It hasn't budged. It looks beautiful. It's covered everything. It's so flattering on mature under eyes and dark under eyes. Thank you, Rhoda. I love it. I think the big standout for me is obviously this product from Natasha Denona. I love this. You don't need it, but if you are someone who wants a true neutral palette that has beautiful formulas that will, you know, perform under any circumstance, then I can't deny that it's amazing. And obviously the ABH lip products, as good as I thought they would be, even better, but you don't get a lot of products, so something to keep in mind. So please do let me know, have you tried any of these products, or tell me, what have you been influenced to buy lately, and were you happy or were you disappointed? Let me know everything down in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I so appreciate you being here with me. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next video, but until then, take care and bye for now.